Well, I just received this package Sunday afternoon, direct from China. And it says control board and cable. It's kind of hefty actually for a single control board. So of course this is for the veteran. I wasn't the veteran Sherman. It's from Lene. I wasn't expecting this until Wednesday based on the DHL tracking. So that was a surprise. So maybe I can get the Sherman running this Sunday evening. I got a few more hours until dark. I was about to clean all this stuff up because I wanted to use my workshop for some other stuff, and I wasn't going to be getting this for a few more days. So this was a pleasant surprise. Yes. It's like Christmas. All kinds of stuff in here. Okay. Well, it's probably better to supply me with a few extra parts than not enough to get this wheel back running. A beautiful new control board. And the second control board. I don't know if they're trying to tell me something here, like I'm gonna burn up another one. I really have no intentions of doing that. Oh, this is interesting. Not sure what that is. Lots of extra parts. And one more here. Maybe I won't be done this for tonight. And this is the goop that they use for the connectors that we all absolutely love dealing with. I don't know for sure, but I bet this is probably what Gotway uses too. So here you go, right from the factory. Okay, as best I can tell, there's no change between these new control boards and the original one, from what I can tell. And from the communications I was having with Veteran, I believe the only change they've made is in the firmware. And I don't know if these are identical in terms of firmware. I'm going to say they are, because I see 0 identifiers on this board to tell me what it is. So I think they just gave me an extra one. These, so I believe these are the fuses that are in the production wheels on the batteries. I'm not going to install these right now. I think that's just an extra measure of protection, and I don't feel like I want to get this wheel running right now, and I don't feel like installing these in the batteries, because that's going to take more surgery. I think these are for the batteries, probably, I'm guessing. They just screw onto these posts, and then I'd have to solder these. So I'm not sure as I speak how these are connected into the batteries. And it's Sunday afternoon, I don't want to wait. Now everything else is just extra parts. They did give me, I asked for this. This is the tubing, heat protection tubing for the motor wires. I will install that. This is and this is a heat shrink tubing. So when you screw the motor wires onto here, what they don't have Loctite on the screws. At least they weren't on mine. But what holds everything together is this heat shrink tubing. So it goes over here and over the connector. I'll show you that when I connect it up. So that's it. Let's start plugging it in. I removed the zip ties that I had. I'll insert a picture here of my modification before Overheat Hill. So I removed them, and turned out that these cables did melt, but melted in only 2 spots, here and here, where I had, so you can see melting here, and there's some exposed wire here. And over here, it looks like only the blue wire has exposed copper. And by the way, this is stranded cabling. It's stiff stranded cabling, but I can see the individual strands. So that's good, I think. But it only occurred where the zip ties were there. So maybe the zip ties were preventing some of the heat from escaping. And that's why it melted. I don't know. Definitely good reason that I had. Good thing that I had the zip ties there to keep them separated. But with this covering that I'm going to put on each cable, even if these were bare wires, we'd be good. They wouldn't touch. So I'm going to do this, and I am going to put zip ties on top again, loosely. In a way, I can use those as a temperature gauge. If the zip ties melt, I know that it's still getting really hot. Maybe I won't put them on. I don't know. I'll see how it goes when I install everything. Well, guys, it's a little worse than I thought. Not horrible, but I'm going to have to do something I really didn't want to do. But when I came down here to kind of separate the wires a little bit, the green and the blue were glued together. And I'm just a little concerned what's going on inside the wheel. So I'm going to have to totally disassemble this thing. I'm going to remove the pedal hanger. At least I'll show you that process. And remove the cover so I can access the wires through the axle, hopefully, and I can get this to see if there's any damage inside, and then to install that heat tubing all the way through the axle, because the fact that these melted together here wherever they were touching, which means that potentially there's more melting occurring inside the axle. Oh wow, what fun. Okay, I have mounted the motor in my workmate, and so it's squeezing on a little bit on the pedal hangers, and then I have it strongly clamped, this pedal hanger on here. So now I can take, this goes back to my monster days. This is a 24 millimeter impact socket, which just means it's a real thick, very thick socket, and there's a slot cut in this. My friend Rehab, Dan, he made this for me a few years ago, it seems, but it'll work on this motor just fine. Not really very tight, actually. Well, based on that, I would say when you're tightening these, they don't need to be too tight. That was not very torqued down. I don't think the Veteran is going to be a wheel that people are going to be jumping a lot anyway, which is what tends to cause these things to loosen up. And that's that. Now you just have to tap out these wedges. Well, that one was easy. I already tapped out the other one, so these just go in here like this. And then this should come off easy, which it does. I'm using a 4 millimeter Allen head wrench to undo all of these. So if you have to do this, just break down and buy the metric tools if you ever need to do this. Otherwise you will potentially strip these heads. I guess I can open up a Sherman repair center when I'm done with all this. I definitely did not think I would be truly tearing down this wheel to this kind of degree. Okay, I've been pounding away using this. I have a kind of a sharpened scraper, paint scraper. So it's a real sharp edge. And you do mar up some of this aluminum, but I just don't think there's a way to avoid it. But after a bunch of pounding, I was able to get this, separate the pieces. Okay, I can see there is some kind of adhesive on there. So I'm going to have to find out what they've used when I reapply this. I'll get back to you when I got this off. Okay, it took a lot of pounding. 3 screwdrivers, and I finally got this top piece off. There's definitely some kind of sealant that they use. What a pain in the butt. So now I can see what's inside here. Seems like there's some tiny bit of dirt in here, which is interesting. I see dirt on this bearing right here. Yeah, when I spin the bearing, that might have just come off then when I was actually working on this. Probably wasn't inside. So this is going to be a pain. So they have the heat protection here, but there's nothing from here on up. There's nothing. And guys, I don't know if I'm going to be able to confidently get these wires out to be able to re-thread them with this kind of insulating material in here. And the problem is the green and the blue are they're melted together, and when I separate them I can almost see evidence of conductor. It's not clear, but I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence in riding this wheel at 30 plus miles per hour. I don't know. I hate to say this, but I might try and get a new motor. I'm just afraid this part in here was too stressed, and I think this might be too much for me to try and confidently rewire the motor. Time to seek further advice. Wow, it's been 16 days since you saw me rip open the Sherman's motor. And what's in this box? A new motor. You can even see a pedal hanger sticking through the box. Direct from China. Maybe it could have used a little better packaging, but hopefully it's intact inside. So what happened? I really couldn't trust the condition of the wires going through the axle, and there was no way I was going to be able to replace those wires. Maybe if it was my day job, but it's not. So, Veteran sent me a new wheel. Why did it take so long? They've made improvements to the motor, and that took time to make the production changes, designs, and then to wait for the wheel to be produced, I guess, the motor. Basically, improvements to the wires, improvements to the heat, the protection of the wires from extreme heat. And I guess that they just started receiving the new motors, must have been late last week, because I think this was shipped to me on Friday, and and I got it yesterday, Monday. I'm just gonna, so let's see what's in here. It's encouraging that I got, there's the pedal hangers are installed. If I don't have to install those, I'd prefer not to. You know what would have been great though, is if the tire had been installed too. So I get to do a tire change. I'll show you all that. And here she is. Let me give you a closer view. Okay, obvious change that I think we all knew about was the fiberglass. I think this some kind of material that protects against heat. Basically, no matter how hot the cables get within, they're not going to be able to melt something on the outside or melt through this cable. So we got that going on. And it does not go through the axle. But the big change is, let me see if I can show one of these, is they've gone to, I believe this is 12 gauge wire. This is from the older motor, which is, you're not going to be able to see it, but trust me, this is 14 gauge, 12 gauge. And back in the day, originally, these motors had, we're talking about 4 years ago plus, motors had 16 gauge wire. And when they went to more powerful motors, wheels, they had to move up to 14 gauge wheel to prevent melting conditions, and now we're going up to 12 gauge. So this is a fantastic improvement. I would say this is probably the first motor, UC motor, which is using this kind of gauge wiring. Okay, now I get to rebuild the Sherman. Should be fun. I guess probably the part I'm looking forward to least is swapping the tire. And I don't have any spare tubes, so I got to make sure I don't rip a tube, but I think I can manage. So I'm probably not going to show you too much of the rebuild process. It's kind of the reverse of what I've done tearing it apart, but I might show you a few bits here and there. And we'll get this wheel up and running real quick so I can, believe it or not, take this back to Overheat Hill. I'm looking for markings on this tube, and it's only in Chinese, so I don't know what size tube this is. Hey, so I'm not a tire guy, but I was looking at how thick this tire is, and now I don't know if the thickness here is the same as throughout, but if it is, it's pretty impressive. It's a solid quarter inch thick rubber, and wow, so if that goes throughout, this tube is never going to be punctured by things like thorns, stuff like that, which is pretty cool. And that doesn't even include the tread on the top here. Well, I have been really struggling to get these two halves together. There is zero wiggle room when putting these together. The control board fits in here, you know, it's like a glove fit. It is tight, and it's not coming together. So I did some measurements, and I discovered that the pedal hangers on this new motor are not installed parallel with each other. So that's a drag. Looks like they're off by a couple degrees. And I just can't get clamps in here. These nuts are really locked on there. So I'm gonna have to take this apart again, fully apart, and so I can better secure the pedal hangers to my workbench, so I can really crank on the axle nut and see if I can, hopefully I can loosen it up. Joys, what joy. Okay, this is where this workmate really comes in handy. If you have one of these, I have it positioned so that it's a little trickier, because these pedal hangers have this round part at the bottom that the roll cage goes to. So it's not as easy to clamp this. Okay, let's see if it's... And I don't want to mess with the pedal hanger with the motor wires, so I'm just going to try and loosen this one, do all the adjustments from this side. Man. Wow. This thing was not going to loosen up. I feel like I could break the workbench, the workmate. You can see it's not giving at all. And just get a better clamp. Okay, I put some better clamps on. I still can't get that other side to budge, so I'm going to be forced to try the motor side. Yes. All right, now it's going to be fun just trying to get these parallel and then tighten it back up. I might have to put the shell together and then do this after. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, it is another day. I spent a few hours trying to get this thing together, and I was successful, but it was tough. Having a new motor probably contributed to it because, again, those pedal hangers weren't perfectly parallel with each other, and by tightening the motor, I was only able to loosen up the side with the wires coming through. I think they can really crank down on this one because this is a solid shaft. So that ain't coming loose, but I was able to loosen that one. Maybe I got them a little more parallel, but I don't think perfectly. So I had to basically undo all the pedal hanger bolts, remove them, then work quite a long time getting the shell pieces to align. There is zero margin in this control board. I mean, there's no wiggle room. There's plastic parts which press up against the metal heatsink in there. In a way, you almost don't even need the mounting screws that attach the heatsink to the plastic case. It's that tight. But I finally got it, the shell fitting together, and then I was able to tighten these down. And like I said, it literally took me I think about 3 hours of working and sweating to get through all this, to get it together. And let me show you one other item that makes it just a little trickier to get this shell back together. This is air intake and exhaust that feeds air through to the control board. There's one on this side and there's an identical one on the other side. And there's no filter in there, it's just a little grid, and the air flows through here and below the control board. So even if water were to get in here, it can't actually get up to the electronics. So that's a nice design. But this piece is actually loose in here, and you'd have to see how it's attached inside. But basically it's loosely attached. It fits in a groove on this side and on this side. So as you've put it in this groove, when the shell pieces are apart, this piece is loose. So you're trying to get them to mesh, to fit together as you're pressing this together. Meanwhile, you've got on the back side, you've got the same thing, and it's falling out there. So it's just like a big jigsaw puzzle. You know, you're trying to get this together, and the other side falls apart. It was not fun. So the big question is, does it work? And the answer is not so simple, unfortunately. So I can turn it on, and you know, it's balancing, and I can turn it off, but that's all I can do. The LCD panel is broken. So I was in communication real time with Lene at Veteran and with their engineers, and I'll throw in a better picture here, but the thought is basically the LCD panel the electronics were destroyed when this control board went up in flames. Not literal flames, but you know what I mean. And the power button works because I guess that's only one signal into the control board, but the other parts are take advantage of the electronics on this subboard here. So I get to wait for another control board from Veteran. As I wait for the control board, which today is August 8th, Saturday. It's not like they're going to ship it out for a couple days. So probably mid next week. Hopefully I'll get this new, I assume they're going to send me this panel. So in preparation of that, I'm going to complete putting everything together. I could actually ride it, but I wouldn't be able to go faster than I think about 12 kilometers per hour, because it's a new control board, so all the settings are set low on this wheel. So it will be waiting, and as soon as I get this, it should be very easy to just plop that in, and then I'll be up and running again and get to test out the new control board and motor. See you guys in a few seconds with the new panel. Well, it's been 12 days since our last video segment. It's taken a while to get parts direct from China. They're probably trying to save all the parts they need to build wheels going out to customers. But today I finally received what I hope is a complete top panel with the LCD panel in it. What a journey, guys. 5.5 weeks since I burned up the wheel on Overheat Hill. And I have the V11 back there, and that's all not functioning. I'm not sure what's going to be happening with that wheel. So I hope I have a good spell for a while with no no failed wheels. It's much funner just to ride. Let's see what's in this box. Nicely wrapped to survive the journey from China halfway around the world. If this was 200 years ago, it'd probably take a year to get this package. Double wrapped. Okay, triple wrapped. Is this supposed to be a comedy? There she is. New panel. Everything's connected. It should be it'd be very easy. Interesting. I already see a new change, I think. Well, let's see how this connects. So this is the main data cable, and this little cable right next to it is for the speaker. So that's the old board, and this is the new one. When I say board, I mean the panel. So now the speaker is directly connected to this circuit board, and looks like, I assume this is a cable that goes to the speaker, or to the speaker connector on that control board. So it's different. Looks like they're carrying on the tradition of Gotway. Every time you get a new replacement part, things change, connectors change, locations change. Okay, let's plug this in. I'm going to plug it in first, just to see if it works, and then I will I'll add some goop so these don't come off. Okay, moment of truth. Yes. Beautiful. I'm going to be able to do some riding. Minus 39 distance. New board. Still have access to, now so this new board does have some firmware changes in it. I don't know what they are. So that's new. I don't know what that's changing. So this could be miles. That might have been to change from either miles, imperial or metric. I don't know. I'll have to experiment. Okay, looking good. Let me silicone those connectors, button it up, and go for a ride. Good morning. This is my second ride since you saw me last in the workshop. I have about maybe 20 miles on the wheel right now. Still fleshing it out, making sure it's solid, but I would say at this point it is. Been going fast and riding over junk, and nothing has failed, so I think I put it together good. I'm heading off to Overheat Hill. Now I'm not going to do any super stress testing. I just kind of riding around some of the hills there, just get a feel for if I notice any difference in power delivery. I can tell you that a couple things I've noticed with the new firmware. Essentially, it's great that it supports imperial measurements now. So I'm in America, so I can look down, I can see my speed, 23 miles an hour right now. So that's cool. Pedal dip has definitely been reduced. Now I think along with that is they hardened up the modes. So soft mode used to be a little bit more, it used to be more squishy, kind of like the older Gotway wheels. and it's definitely less so now. So I know some people, I'm speaking to you, Chris, will be disappointed with that. I'm not. I ride most of the time in hard mode, so it's definitely nice that the pedal tip is reduced. I guess that's all I've really noticed in riding. It's just great to be back in the wheel. EUC World supports the wheel now, which is great. It doesn't support it in terms of configuration. But in terms of reading the telemetry, it looks like it's doing pretty good, at least from what I'm looking at. I mean, in speed, temperature, battery level is all good. I don't know about current and stuff like that. I haven't been playing around with that yet. You can hear my motorcycle, which I love that feature on EUC World. So I have my Bluetooth speaker, that red device in the back of in the back of the Sherman. I don't know if you can see it right now. So I have that mounted, and with EUC World, it's kind of sounds like a Harley as you're riding, and the pitch and the speed all changes as the speed of the wheel changes. So it's kind of fun. And you can customize that sounds too. I need to do that. Try something other than a Harley, but it's fun. People can definitely hear me coming. So other than that, I'm loving this wheel. I love the tire. I do want to say I have a feeling E-Wheels may have made a mistake by apparently they're going to be supplying 70% of at least the first batch, 70% of the wheels with road tires. If I only have an option of getting a road tire because they've run out of this enduro tire, I'm going to pass, and I'm not going to take the Sherman. I'll wait for the next batch. I'm not going to go with the road tire from everything I've seen, and I love this enduro tire. Handles beautifully. I'm gone with it. Okay, I'll see you up in the hills. I'm at the precursor hill to Overheat Hill. It's a pretty stressful hill, and that'll be the main stress test for today. I want to say that I do have the current alarm enabled. I've been playing with it, and looks like 90 amps is just like the Godway wheels. Looks like that's the value to use. It rarely triggers, but when I'm really pushing it up on some steep little sections, I get the alarm triggers. So it's gonna work good for me. I didn't have that last time when I was on Overheat Hill. So now I can look at my temperatures. I can see I'm 56 degrees, 85% battery, and I haven't been able to get the audio to trigger, but my watch vibrates when the alarm triggers. So if I remember, I'll mention the triggering as we go up. And of course, if I feel the wheel starting to make grinding sounds, extraordinary grinding sounds, I'm going to stop. I really don't want to burn this guy up. So let's see what happens. Triggering. you know, unless it's my imagination, I've been feeling like the wheel has more low-end torque. It's different firmware. It just seems to want to climb a bit better than the last one, I think. I don't know. 61 degrees C. Here's the tough part up ahead right here. Triggering. Triggering. 63 degrees C. Now I don't want to jinx myself, but this feels better than last time I came up here. And we're in a heat wave right now. It's 9:20 in the morning, and it feels like it's getting in the higher 80s right now. It's going to probably be 95 plus today again here, so that's why I'm in the morning. But 65 degrees C. Going up that hill, the 90 amp alarm triggered 3 or 4 times, and the motor wasn't making any grinding sounds. I'm not going to go over Overheat Hill right now just because it's just too hot, and if something goes wrong, I don't want to have a heat stroke trying to get out of here in the morning, and it's in the morning. So Jeff, hey Jeff, with the bucket truck, I'm pretty sure he's working. It's Friday, so I'm very much encouraged by this, guys. So I'm going to be doing some riding this weekend, going up into Mount Baldy, up 6,000 feet or so. But I think next week, sometime I'll take it to Overheat Hill, and we'll see what happens. But I'm excited. All right, see you guys later.